Hello again. So, I wanted to continue with the board game shelf. What we have here, it's very small, very Japanese. This is A Fake Artist Goes to New York. So this is a nice, kind of a drawing game, kind of social deduction game. What it is someone tells everyone a general topic. They're the topic creator. They say something very general, like animal or movie. And then they write down on a piece of paper the specific thing that it is. So, maybe they picked lion, or maybe for a movie they picked The Godfather or something. So they give everyone the specific topic except for one person who gets an X. So then there's pads of paper in here and different colored pencils, and each person draws one continuous line. So throughout the lines, you pass it through, and each person adds 2 lines. So you get a line, it alternates for everyone, and you get another line. And through that, you're trying to make sure that you're not giving it away to the person that doesn't know what it is. So at the end of everyone drawing, you vote for who you think doesn't know what you were drawing. And then they also get a point, even if they're guessed, if they can know what you were trying to draw. So there's kind of a balance between drawing enough so people think you know what it is, but not making it obvious and telling them, the person that doesn't know what it is, what the topic is. So if you're like making an elephant, then a trunk kind of gives it away. So it's you got to make sure that it's not too obvious. Hanabi is a great communication game. What it is you need to build sets from 1 to 5 out of different colors. So there's like green, white, red, yellow, and blue. And there's a 6th one in here that you can use if you want to make it harder. You can use them as wilds, or you could use them as a 6th completely different set. So you have to, on your turn, you play a card, or you get rid of a card, or you tell someone what cards they have. So you need to play a card, so you like play 1 that's yellow, and then you can play the 2 that's yellow. But the thing is, you don't know what your cards are. You know everyone else's cards, but not your own. So you kind of start off by telling people what cards they have, and they need to kind of figure out what card they should play and start up a set, or continue on to a set. Because if you play it wrong, you only get 3 strikes, and then the game's over. And you have a limited number of hints. So you have to manage your hints, you have to manage your hand, you have to know which ones you can get rid of to get more hints back. This is a very good communication game. Elder Sign. So Elder Sign is made by Fantasy Flight Games. They also make Eldritch Horror, which is a game I've been trying to get, which is a very heavy role-playing game. This is a much more casual Cthulhu Mythos game. It involves, you place locations, and on these locations are die rolls. And there's like 6 die you get, and each die has like weird things, like they'll have what they call terror or knowledge, something like that, investigation. So you have to roll to get what's on the card. And there are monsters that get added to cards, which makes them even harder. So this game, it's pretty fun. It's basically Yahtzee, like Cthulhu themed Yahtzee. I like it. It's casual enough. So if you're looking for something like extreme role playing, then maybe this isn't for you. But it is pretty intense to kind of roll, and you can kind of mitigate the rolls by using things that give you rerolls. There are things that let you save a die, things like that to help mitigate it. And there's better dice you can use that have like wild cards on them. So it's pretty fun. There's an expansion that adds more to it. Betrayal at the House on the Hill. This game is a little bit controversial. A lot of people don't like it for... It's basically how it's set up. So you're either going to like it or you're not. What it is you walk around, you start with some tiles, you walk, and if you walk off, you have to flip over a new tile. And these tiles will have items or events or stuff like that. But there are ones that have these things they call omens. omen cards, you get them, it provides you with something, some random bonus or whatever. But each time an omen happens, you have to roll dice. And there's like 15 omens, and every time you roll the dice, your dice has to be greater than or equal to the number of omens that there have been. So if there are 8 omens, you have to roll 8 or more. And I think the dice only have like, the dice can only go up to like 14. So I think the 15th omen will cause it to happen. Something like that. And then what happens when that omen, when that haunt roll is failed, the game changes completely. There's basically a reference chart in here where it says, okay, which omen did you last draw and where did you draw it? And then it's a list and it says, okay, that's haunt number 15. And then it says the person who betrayed everyone is this guy, or the person with the lowest like health or lowest strength or something, lowest mind. So they become a traitor. There's one in here, one of the haunts is someone who doesn't. It's just like everyone for themselves. There's no real traitor. And then the game changes a lot. You have a survivor manual, you have a traitor manual. So the traitor goes in a separate room, reads all his rules, and they get some information about what the heroes are doing. And then the heroes or the survivors read their rules all together, formulate plans, and they get some information about the traitor. When we first played this game, the first thing we got was a Dorian Gray kind of painting thing. Like, this guy was eternally young because of a painting, so we couldn't like kill him, but we could get paint and then splash his painting. So it added chips to the board that we would have to pick up and bring to the ballroom where there's a painting. And we didn't know that every time he went into the ballroom, he got hurt. So that was something that he knew that we didn't. And he didn't know what we were doing. He didn't know what the chips were. But he knew he had to kind of stop us from doing it. So the issue that people have with this game, you might be able to tell, is that you play the game a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here's a bunch of different rules and different things. So, moving and fighting things are going to be the same, but all the interactions are now different. There are different rules for the survivors, different rules for the traitor, and since we don't know everything about each other, there can be some ambiguity. For instance, when we played about the paint, he didn't know that the things we picked up were paint that he was trying to destroy, so he never destroyed them, otherwise he would have won. I think he won anyway, but he would have won earlier. So he didn't know that he could destroy those paint chips, because we didn't know that they told him that. We were just told, these are chips, these are paint, and all he knows is something. So there is a problem with ambiguity of rules, and the fact that the rules switch immediately, basically, when that happens, and everything's different rules, different interactions. So I think it's fine. I like it. It has a lot of theme to it. Very thematic. It makes you feel like you're basically in an episode of Scooby-Doo, which I think is really funny, because you're a bunch of people exploring a house, and then someone, oh, spooky ghosts. So there's a lot of things. The other one we played, and I ended up being the traitor, almost winning, and I had to like abduct them because I was an alien, and I had got like alien minions I had to go send out. So I liked it. Anyway, I recommend it, but I understand what people's problems are. So I would go into this with a very open mind about the rules. Ticket to Ride Europe. Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride Europe, by extension, are very, very much classics of the board game genre. I chose to get Ticket to Ride Europe because there's a bit more strategic things in here. There is, for instance, if you need to build routes, and only one person can build a route sometimes. So if your route's blocked, there's something you can do to subtract points and then let you use that route for your routes. So it's like do you want to use your points now? Do you want to try to go around, or do you want to, forego your points? There's another thing where it's called mountains, where you might need more cards. So what you do in this game is there's a deck of like 100 cards. It's a pretty big deck, and it has different color of cards. There's wild cards, red, blue, yellow, green, black, white, I think it's everything on here. So there's wild, blue, red, yellow, white, orange, green, and purple. So you can pick up these cards, you can pick up 2 cards and add them to your hand. And then, or you can take a wild if it's face up, or you can take from the deck. And if you take from the deck, even if you get a wild, you can get again. So sometimes you're like, oh, do I want to take only the wild card? I want to take 2 cards, or I want to take under, just in case. And then you have these tickets which define a long route. So there's like Portugal, and you got to connect Portugal to, like, say, Berlin or something, somewhere in Berlin, somewhere in Germany. So you can, at the beginning of the game, you'll get a bunch of cards, and you can discard some, keep them all. You can draw more if you want to get more points, and you get bonus points if you do your routes. But if you don't do your routes, you lose points. So you got to kind of compete, and like if you got to connect Lisbon to Berlin, you want to get a route to Spain and then France, and then so there's a lot of options you can take to get to Berlin, for example, but it is possible to be blocked and you got to go around. But if you want to plan it out, you want to get more routes, try to connect routes together. Like if you want to get a route from like Lisbon to Paris and then Paris to Berlin and then something like that, you can get a lot of points. So you're set collecting and then you're playing your sets to lay down track. So it's kind of what people would say multiplayer solitaire, where each person is building up their own hands and then just playing their cards when it's their turn. But you are able to look at where people are going and kind of basically screw them over by taking routes that they might need. But yeah, I would say it is multiplayer solitaire, but I do really like it. This is a classic game. I prefer Ticket to Ride Europe because of the strategic things that I mentioned earlier. But Ticket to Ride USA is very good as well. It's more cutthroat, some would say. I know there's also Ticket to Ride the Nordic countries, which I hear is very good for 2 to 3 people. There's also Ticket to Ride India, Africa. There's one for the Netherlands. There's one for Pennsylvania. One for London. And the most recent one is called Rails and Sails, which has the Michigan Great Lakes and then the entire world, where you try to connect them via ports, like trade routes, and then also railroad routes. I haven't played that one, but I've also heard it's very good. I've heard they're all pretty solid. Europe was the one I first bought. I also bought the expansion, Europa 1912, which has some other things like different routes, and they have these things called warehouses that we never really used, but it does add a lot. So down here in this section, we have Smash Up. And Smash Up has a lot of expansions. I have 5 of them. I have these 3 plus 2 that are in this box. This box can only hold 2 expansions, but they sell a bigger box, which has another faction in it. And what you do in this game is there are like factions, like you can see on here, like on this princess one, where there's like princesses, cats, fairies, unicorns, monsters, werewolves, vampires, giant ants, stuff like that. You can see on here you got aliens, wizards, ninjas. So you pick 2 of the factions, and then you just combine their decks together. That's all you do. And then you shuffle it, and you play those cards and actions and play them on bases to get points. So it's fine. I like playing it. I don't take it seriously. There is a lot of theory that you can do. You can apply, like, oh, this is good with this and this is good with that. So you can apply that, and a lot of people would say that that's kind of a problem because if not everyone knows all the decks, then they're at a disadvantage. You're just going to pick something that sounds cool but might not be valid. I know one of my friends is really upset that not everything is viable. But of course the thing is that I don't know how many factions there are, but if you consider that these were 4 each, and they can all combine with each other, you have a lot of combinations. There's 8 in the base set, and then there's 4 more from each of the other expansions. So the amount of combinations is quite a lot. So you're right, there is no way everything's going to be viable. But I don't think it's supposed to be taken seriously. I don't think any game where werewolf zombies are supposed to be a thing needs to be competitively viable. There are things where you can theorize and come up with different decks, but at a certain point, it's really just about, I think these are cool, I'm going to try this strategy. And I get it. I get that people with more experience would certainly be able to deck build better, but I don't know. It's too casual for me to actually care about any kind of balance issues. It's fun. It can go on longer than it might need to be, but I like it. I think it's good for table talk and everything like that. Anyway, next time I will cover the rest of the shelf, these two. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.